baby, here am I. Oh, well, you left me here so I could sit and cry. Well, golly gee, what have you done to me? Oh, well, I guess it doesn't matter anymore. Love you like I do.
Another one of the legends and the pioneers in drag racing and in the AA Fuel Dragster bracket from the West Coast is Jerry BALTES. Fortunately for us, he's out here on the East Coast, and I believe living out here on the East Coast as well. He's got his dragster out here along with Billy Lynch's. We'll talk to Billy Lynch later on. But I want to welcome you to Cars and Us.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure
Jerry,
to be here.
It's a pleasure to see you here because, as I said, you are a legend.
Well,
and, you go way back.
Yes, I do. Thank you very much. Yeah, but it's good to be seen too. So we're enjoying it. I've been on the East Coast now for 41 years. I lived in Southern California for 15 years. So I'm not really sure where I belong, but I'm happy.
You haven't found your way yet.
Well, yeah, right. I'm still hoping there's something around the next corner.
Where are you residing now?
I live on a lake in Virginia-North Carolina borders, about 100 miles south of Richmond. And we've been down there 31 years.
Now, what in your spare time you're taking the car around? You're traveling the show circuit, or what have you been up to on a daily basis?
Well, the whole story is 41 years ago I had a match race with Tommy Ivo at Richmond Dragway, and I met a 22-year-old girl working in the tower. We've been married for 41 years, and that's how we met, was at the drag strip. And we're back doing the things at the drag strip and the reunions again with the race car, and we're just really having a good time.
That's terrific.
It's a good story. I really, it just worked out well. Not very many people get to go back and do it twice.
Jerry, what drew you out here? What made you leave the West Coast?
I had a match race. Well, I did a Drag News Invitational race in Detroit, and I had a match race with Gartlets at Cecil County. And while I was on the East Coast, I met this girl. We did move back to San Diego for 6 months and one earthquake. And the earthquake she said, get me out of here, take me back to Virginia. And we moved back to Virginia and been here 41 years.
When you were drag racing, give us some of your history.
Well, I started drag racing in 1951 at Paradise Mesa with a stock car, a 40 Ford Coupe stock car. And I finally bought a 32 5-window coupe and put a really stout flathead motor in it. Raced that for a couple of years. I went to the very first U.S. Nationals in Great Bend, Kansas with the motor out of the coupe in an altered coupe. And I did not win there, but we had such a good time on old Route 66 going back and forth across the United States that I decided I wanted to go dragster racing. So when I got back from Great Bend, Kansas, I took the engine out of my altered coupe, and I took my daughter's swing set down, and I took it over to Joaquin Arnett, the famous Bean Bandit, and he welded a chassis up out of my daughter's swing set, and I put my flathead in it, and we ran 118 miles an hour on gas in my daughter's swing set. And I wanted to do the dragster thing because I did not like leaning over fenders and working under hoods. And with the dragster thing, everything was out in the open. And We raced gas dragster up until 1963 when I bought this. It was an original Ivo car. Ivo built 33 cars himself, and this was one of the originals. I bought another one from Mickey Thompson at Long Beach on a Saturday night, so I campaigned the Crozier, Baltes, and Lovato car on the East Coast, and we campaigned the Crozier, Levitt, and Baltes car on the West Coast. So every time you picked up a newspaper, Baltes
Your
was
names,
in there. One was,
right,
yeah,
right.
for one
Your
place
name
or
was-
another.
Right.
So
That's a great history.
it is. You know, I didn't think anything like this would ever happen because of us doing what we enjoyed doing for nothing.
You stole my thunder because that's what I was going to
Yeah.
ask you. You know,
Yeah.
about how you feel about out here
Yeah.
and seeing all the older guys and being involved with being a part of the history.
I talk to Tom Hanna frequently, and he doesn't like coming to a lot of these things because every year so many of the old timers die.
Right.
And I told him, I said, Tom, every time I go to one of these things, I see somebody that I haven't seen in 45 years.
Right.
And, you know, not that we're forgetting the old timers, but, you know, this is a brand new old friend all over again.
That's
so
right.
we're really enjoying it. My wife, too. I mean, she was involved in this from, well, I had two funny cars in the early 70s.
Did you?
So the
What'd you have?
Tom and Jerry Mustang and the Tom and Jerry
Oh, sure.
Duster. And the Duster was the car, the Bob Banning Dodge that we bought from Bob Banning when those guys wanted to quit. Sneeden drove it for the first 6-8 months, and then I had a friend of mine from San Diego come back here and drive it. And, you know, it was all right, but it wasn't what I liked.
It wasn't your cup of tea.
That's right, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
You were born for a dragster.
I really was. I'm
Yeah.
enjoying it. And about 4 weeks ago or 5 weeks ago, we did a little thing at Richmond, and Garlitz was there, and he kind of rolled the water box and got after it and smoked the tires, you know, pretty good for the excellent traction that's on these racetracks today. So I came behind him and I rolled the water box and I got after it a little bit, and it set me back in the seat, and then all of a sudden smoke came from everywhere. I smoked the clutch right out of
Did
this
you?
thing because those big tires are not going to spin on the kind of traction these guys have today.
Tell us, well, the viewers, a little bit about this dragster that we're standing in front of.
Well,
them
an ironic thing about it is this is a recreation of a 1964 Ivo car. It's got a 392 Chrysler in it. It's got the Magneto is out of my Tom and Jerry Mustang funny car. Tom Hanna did a great job putting the thing together. And I joke with everybody about, you know, the day I signed the last check on this thing paying Hanna off, we're going to find the original car. Well, it wasn't the day after, but it was 6 months after we picked this car up. That we looked 10 years for the original car all over where I had sold it. And, you know, the money that I spent looking for it would have paid almost for half this deal right here. So the original car is 95% complete. The only thing missing out of it is the steering wheel and the bell housing. It's never been torched. It's never been hacksawed. It was bracket raced with a small block Chevy in it, but they made the Chevy motor mounts fit the 392 motor mounts, so, you know, no welding was done on the car. Unfortunately, the guy does not want to sell it. He thinks he wants to rebuild it himself, and I told him I would help him with all the knowledge and everything that I can give him. And
Go ahead.
we had the two cars side by side at Columbus, and we had taken the cowl off of the recreation, and set it on the original, and it fit perfectly other than the fact it was 3 inches too short because we'd set the engine back in this car 3 inches farther than the original. And we're all working from 75-year-old memories, and you know how that sometimes doesn't work.
Well, it works to the best of your ability, and that's what matters.
Well, my ability used to be a lot better.
Well, listen, that's the price you pay for success. You know what? Like the man said, you know, most older guys get old.
Well, I've gotten older in years, but I've not got older in my mind.
Your mindset.
That's right.
You know why? Because you probably hang out. Well, I know your wife is very young. You know,
She
so you
is a
hang
lo-
out with younger people, and like I'm sure she keeps you young.
She is a lot younger than I am.
Where is the lovely Pat?
She's right here. Well, she was over there seeing her parole officer a little while ago, but she's here now.
Come on over here.
Hi, how are you?
I understand you were you played a big part in Jerry's drag racing life. In fact, you were involved with drag racing yourself.
I was. I worked at a drag strip. That's where we met. I started drag racing when I was 14. Started working at the drag strip in
You
Petersburg.
started working, but did you ever race yourself? Or you never had?
No. I just like to watch them.
I didn't meet her when she was 14. We didn't
Yeah.
run off when she was 14.
Jerry Lee Lewis.
Yeah, yeah.
What did you do at the track?
I worked in the tower, ran the clocks.
Did you?
Yeah.
What dragster?
I worked at Petersburg, I worked at Emporia, and then I went to Richmond Dragway, and Richmond Dragway is where we met.
Okay, so you traveled around quite a bit. You have. How did you get involved?
I don't know. Somebody took me to a drag race one time when I was 14, and I just fell in love with it. Just really liked drag racing. The excitement of it.
That's only like 20 years ago.
I know.
A little bit more than that. Actually, the guy that owned the racetrack was a prevert, and he just liked 14-year-old girls.
It was just a good group of people that you enjoyed being around, and I just liked the thrill of the sport.
How did you feel about seeing him go down the track so fast? Were you ever worried?
Yeah, that was pretty scary, but I felt comfortable. I felt comfortable the car was safe, although I look at it now and I say, what was I thinking? But
Well, I think we'd only been married about 6 months when I had a bad crash at Muncie, Indiana, and she thought she was widowed. And actually, I've never been back. I've never driven a race car since that day. I was racing Dick LaHaye, and we ran 218 miles an hour, and I hit the guardrail at the finish line and stopped within 50 feet, and rung my bell pretty good, but I didn't break any bones or bleed.
Jerry, do you recall the actual incident? What happened, and how did you feel, and what went through your head?
The last thing I remember seeing was Dick LaHaye's parachute open up in front of me, and I said to myself, I'm going to run over the top of him, and that's the end of both of us. But fortunately, it was at Muncie, and Muncie was two separate tracks. There was a grass median in between the two tracks, and I crossed the grass median. I ran up behind him, and I went off into the left-hand side and hit the guardrail. So it was a guardrail stopped my car from hitting his car, and I told him he owes me one. So
That's a hell of a debt.
yeah, it's a quick stop too.
yeah, it was. that was scary, but it was his decision to quit.
How do you like traveling the circuit now?
Oh, I love it. We're having so much fun. It's so nice to go and see all of our old friends that we used to see. Every time we go to one of these events, we see somebody that we haven't seen in years, and it's great.
And like I said before, that's what keeps. I feel that's what keeps everybody young.
It is,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
It's not working too good for me. I'm going to be 74 next month, so
You know what?
it's
You
not
don't-
keeping me
You
young.
really don't look at it, not because we're on camera or anything, but you really don't look
Well,
at it. You're
thank
holding up
you.
very well.
It's trying to keep up
I said
with
the
the-
same thing to Phil Bonner before, and he looks great.
Oh, I want to look just like him when I'm that age.
And do you want to live in Costa Rica too?
Well, no, I'll still take the good old U.S. of A. But no.
Well, you know what? It's a pleasure. I hope that we brought some good stories and some good history to the viewing audience, because that's what I like to do.
All right.
And it's people like you that make my show.
Well, I'm glad to be able to be part of it.
Right.
It's been a
Jerry,
pleasure
thank
for me.
you so much.
Yeah.
Thank
Pat,
you,
We
Dennis.
were part of racing when racing was fun.
That's
Right.
when it was drag racing.
Right.
Right.
Now it's all entertainment.
And big money.
Yeah, well, in my day it was cubic inches. Today it's cubic dollars.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Well, that's what NHRA did to it.
Yeah.
But anyway, good luck,
All right.
and we'll see you the rest
Thank
of the
you
week.
very much. Yep,
Good.
we'll
All
be
right.
here.
Thank you.
Thank you. One of the featured cars out here is, and actually they were here last year. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to talk to Sam, but I did videotape the car last year, so many of you are going to recognize it again this year. But Sam AUXIER Jr., and he's got the '69 Mustang, and he's a legend in drag racing as well, both him and his father. So we're going to welcome you to Cars and Us.
Thank you very much.
Sam,
I'm
pleasure.
great to be
And
here.
as I said, last year we didn't get a chance to talk, but I did videotape the car. As a matter of fact, I got you pulling in last year.
Great,
So I got
great.
some
Yeah,
sound,
that's the real sound.
Yes.
There you
That's
go.
what I like to, that's what's great about this show, because you get the sound, the actual sound of the cars, and,
That's
and then the
right.
next best thing is we go Sunday to Beaver Springs.
Beaver Springs,
you know?
right.
And
I'm
catch
gonna-
them at the track.
I'm going to try and be there. So.
Are you?
we'll see, yeah.
Let's first of all, let's talk about this car in general, and then we'll go
Okay.
back into the history of yourself and your dad.
Okay, this car here, probably one of my best race cars. Certainly one of the most publicized race cars that I've had. We found it about 3 years ago. A collector purchased it from Seattle, Washington, Bob Lindstrad. and he sunk a lot of money into it to bring it back to its original condition. It's about as original as you can get. It's with the pictures we had and the fading memory I have, we got it together. So it was tough, but we made it. So
How did you come to know its whereabouts and its existence?
well, a person I know had asked me about if I knew where it was, any idea, and I told him, I said, I have absolutely no idea where it is. And he sent out, somehow he searched it down, and come to find out it was in a garage in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. Been sitting in there for about 8 years. The guy that actually owned the car lived in Frederick, Maryland, which was probably about 30 minutes from me. And so he had put it in his father's garage, Williamsport, Pennsylvania, and that's where it sat. And then we went and got it. But it was extensively changed.
It was. Now, when you say that, it brings to mind the little I know about Fords is that they're very documented. In other words, you can tell by the VIN tags where they came from, what was in them, and this and that. There's so much information by the VIN tags and on the car. So I suspect that that's how you came to realize that it was your real car.
Actually not. This car was built. Ford gave me the body, okay, and it's called a body in white. Body in whites had no VIN tags, and this particular car came from Ford. Ford supplied it.
Explain what a body in white is.
A body in white is a shell that just before it's starting down the assembly line, it is bare bones, and it even has, this particular car, none of the sound deadener, any of that was in the car. So it was a very lightweight, even at that point. So that's a body in white. It's a generic animal, and basically we brought the car back, built the car, and it's a one-of-one car in reality, and very successful. We won Cars Magazine at Cecil County, the big race there, and we beat Jenkins, and we beat
With which car?
with that car right there.
I mean, what car was Jenkins running at that time?
Jenkins was running its Camaro, his 68 Camaro.
All right.
And then also Ronnie Sox. We beat Sox, and we beat Jenkins in the final round for that.
You beat the two top names, that's for sure. We couldn't go
Doesn't
any
get any
higher.
better than that. It was a big night for me. So and with all the funny cars and the other cars that were there, it was a huge event. And we also won 1968 Cars Magazine with a different car, a 65 Mustang. We also beat Jenkins in the final in that.
Did you? That must have made him happy.
He was happy. 2 years in a row, he was very happy, you know. So, yes. So it had a long history, very successful car, and it was a great to find that particular car, because I had like 10, 11 cars. So a few other ones I have found, but
they weren't as meaningful.
They were not as meaningful. This car here is really has so much win history with it, and
now, Sam, as we look at it, before I lose my train of thought, as we look at it, let's describe the from the front to the rear, from the motor and right on back.
Okay, the front end all fiberglass. Okay, the engine itself is a 427 side oiler, tunnel port heads. Those were strictly over the counter. Those parts were, like I said, we were sponsored by Ford. All that came from Ford. At that point, it's a 2.4 setup, gasoline. That was basically our rules. And basically we raced cubic inch to pound.
Right.
That's basically how the old days we did it.
The way drag
and
racing
it was meant to be, you know. And so that's how a lot of people say, well, how did you wind up running Jenkins and Sox and all that
right.
with this car that wouldn't be a super stock car. That's how we all did it back then, that we raced for money, and where NHRA was tough to make any money trying to run with those
That's an
crazy rules,
That's an understatement.
So we wound up with this particular car. It's just a basic shell car. It was built, and it was because we started out with NASCAR circuit, drag race circuit. A lot of people don't even know it existed,
That's right.
you know.
That's right.
So we started out with that. Basically, the car is just a roll bar car, flat dash, gauges, very minimal of everything.
Transmission's 4-speed.
4-speed top loader transmission.
Right. I know a little something about Fords.
There you go.
Not that much,
Has a regular 9-inch Ford rear.
What gears did you run?
Those were like 513s in those. Yeah.
How about what's in it now?
513.
Same thing?
Yes, same thing. Yeah.
Same thing.
We put it back as close as possible.
Wow. Do you make passes with the car or not? Or
I have not. The actual owner of the car just will not let me make a pass in the car.
Is that right?
Yeah. He has it insured for $250 grand right now, so you know, I would love to. I absolutely love to.
I'm sure.
You know?
I'm sure.
And basically, you know, it's just a one-seat car with aluminum interior and.
It is, huh? Aluminum in the interior.
Aluminum interior.
So with all this lightweight components, what does it weigh?
It actually came out back then. I haven't weighed it since we redid it because the front end weighs much more now because of all the reconstructive we had to do with it.
Right.
But car weighed back then like 2,300 and some pounds, so we had to add a lot of. I think our minimum weight, if my memory serves me right, we had to be at least 2,800 pounds. So
you had to add a lot.
We had to add a lot.
What'd you do? Put water in a spare tire? An old
no,
truck.
actually, what we did was we had a barbell set up in the trunk,
right.
and it's in this trunk of this car, and you just stack the barbells on there, and you know added the weight, and you could add it left or right and balance it out. Yeah. So.
What were the ETs in miles per hour?
You know, it ran some high 9s and 135, 136 mile an hour. That's about, you know, back then it was good.
Yeah,
you know.
that's good.
Today it's nothing. You know,
Well,
but back then it was great.
You can't even compare it.
No,
today,
you can't.
Because today's racing is completely different.
Completely.
With today's technology, if you used the components in this car, you'd be running in the 8-second bracket.
Exactly. This, in fact, this engine is, for what we actually do with it, is probably a real overkill because it has everything, the best you can buy, Crowler crankshaft, Crowler rods. We've got the stainless valves. I mean,
Just
everything.
out of curiosity, camshaft, is a roller cam in there?
It's a roller cam. It's a crane roller. Crane roller rockers.
Yeah.
Crane. We had a number of our old sponsors that came back. Came back. Crane gave us everything they made for the engine.
Yeah.
Goodyear gave us the tires for the car. Dietz made it. They had a chute left that had Ford, big Ford oval on it. So we were able to get the chute. We were able to have the original chute cover. We found that. And the actual headers, Herb Gebler headers, we found the original set of headers for the car. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
That must have been a find.
That was a find and a half because unbeknown at the time, it actually located the engine position that we did not have the motor mounts for.
Right.
So solid mount car, but we didn't have anything to locate.
Sure.
And with the way the headers were designed, it really it only went one place.
That's it.
And that was it. So we made the mounts.
That's amazing.
And
really
without
is.
that, we'd have had a lot more problems there.
Yeah. Where did you campaign the car?
We campaigned it, gosh, every place. We probably...
What track did you call home?
Primarily East Coast. 75 and 80 was our home test track because we only lived about 30 minutes from there.
Okay.
So we used that as our test track during the week. And Bill Welcome, the owner, nice enough to have the clocks set up, run the clocks, it all works. And we just called that home, you know.
That's terrific. But you ran all the tracks. Now I got to ask you. My home track was Dover Drag Strip in New York State. Did you ever run?
I don't recall running Dover.
Okay.
We ran up New York State at the Long Island.
You ran National Speedway.
Track, National Speedway. ADCO. We used to run ADCO.
Right.
They,
Right.
book us in for match races and
Sure.
stuff for that. We used to run a lot of 8-car fields, 8-car qualifiers.
Okay. Sure.
That my dad had a lot to do with. We ran 8-car and then 16-car fields too. On there.
So today, what's your life like today?
My life
You-
today
you no longer
is
drag racing, so you
no
gotta be
longer
doing
drag
something.
racing. Well, I have my real estate license, which doesn't mean nothing right now. Actually, my wife is a concert promoter,
Oh,
and
I see. Not.
I'm living off of her.
Hey, well, it's okay, Sam. There's a lot of guys envious of
Yeah,
you.
don't ask
I'm
her.
sure. What type of concerts? Rock and roll shows, oldie shows?
We do a variety of shows.
Where?
We actually do in 10 states. We do closest one to here is Penn State University.
Oh, okay.
We do shows there. We do upstate New York, Syracuse,
Okay.
Albany, Erie, Pennsylvania, Lexington, Kentucky.
It's a lucrative business.
We've
A lot of work, but it's like putting on one of
tremendous
these car
amount of work.
shows. It's like putting on one of these car shows.
People do
same
not
thing.
know. People
I
do
know.
not
I know.
realize the
I know. The
time
amount of work.
involved, the
I know.
amount of work.
I know.
So.
I know. All they know is they go
I mean,
to enjoy it, and that's it.
Exactly. My wife right now, she's working on Christmas shows. I mean,
Oh,
so,
sure.
I mean,
Sure. You have to work
So
at
you're
least 6 months in
always 3,
advance.
6,
Sure.
8, maybe
Absolutely.
10 months in
Yeah.
advance.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah. So that's what I do right now. I still have my internet speed shop, Maryland High Performance Sales.
Okay.
I work with that.
We'll have to put that up on the screen.
Yes,
so
please.
People know where you are.
Yes,
Absolutely.
and we still have that. I had to reduce that to basically internet, mail order, that
Right,
type of thing.
right.
The retail.
Well, that's today's.
the retail business is
yeah,
just
yeah.
yeah. It's tough today to
Yeah, well, the market's on the internet.
yeah. That's
It
basically
shrunk the world,
It
you know.
shrunk the world.
Yeah.
Definitely did. Yes. And that-
Sam, I'm glad we got a chance to talk.
I appreciate
All right,
it.
Pleasure. I know
Very
it took us
good.
a little bit to get together, but
No,
that's
that's
okay.
great.
You know
That's
what?
great.
At least we got it done, and it's always nice to see your car here. And good
Good.
luck. We'll stay in touch. We'll
Okay.
give the viewers your information, and
Alrighty.
for what it's worth, maybe we'll do a little promoting ourselves.
Hey, I appreciate it.
All
Very
right,
good.
Sam,
Great
thank you
to
much.
be here. Thank you.